right. Thank you for tuning into another episode, breaking down the NFC South odds here. So Tampa Bay obviously is the prohibitive favorite. Minus 250. I don't think it's a good thing to bet. I think that the Panthers at plus 900 are my favorite bet in this. Maybe the Falcons at plus 3,500. The Saints at plus 300. I think that's just not enough. So breaking down Tampa Bay quickly, that Tom Brady absence where he took 10 days off and, he came back and said he's just got a lot of shit going on. He's 45 years old. It depends on what that absence was about. Was it personal? Um, Rick Stroud said that it might come out later on in the season on what actually transpired there, but that sounded really ominous. And you might say, hey, what does that have to do with football? But just my personal opinion, if your mind is not engaged, even for players like Tom Brady, then it's going to affect your play on the field. Um, Couple that with the problems that they're having on their offensive line, especially in the middle. Lost their starting center, lost the backup center. One of the guards is out for the season as well. You could just start to see a formula in which things don't pan out. Now, the reason for upside is that this team is just gelled. They're the most constant bet in the division. A lot of these teams have massive, massive questions that they need to answer at massive positions, quarterback, new head coach. And this team doesn't have that. Todd Bowles has coached before. He's done an excellent job, in my personal opinion, when he was at the Jets. Defensive coordinator here, still retained the offensive coordinator. So there's still going to be a lot of continuity with this team. So the main question to me is just Tom Brady's mentals, and then also the offensive line, is it going to hold up? But everything else, I think, the weapons, you might say, hey, what's going on there with that? With Godwin coming off a torn ACL, bringing in Julio, who a lot of people feel is washed, but we'll see what happens there. Then, Gronk not returning, but I think that they're the obvious favorite to win the division, and plus 250 with those questions that I answered isn't tasty enough for you to jump on it. The Saints, a lot of people are high on the Saints, but I personally believe that Sean Payton's a top 5 coach in football. So if that is the case, I don't see how people think, hey, this team is just going to come together and they're not going to miss a beat. I just don't see that. Dennis Allen was a coach before for the Raiders. He looked pretty incompetent there. This Saints team is a team where they lost their starting left tackle. They drafted a guy who was just having surgery, who looked terrible pinning in the offseason. This is a team that's built on just tremendous offensive line play, and that's starting to erode a little bit. Couple that with the fact that defensively, a lot of the stalwarts up front are starting to get a little bit older. This team is built off of that one draft where they got so many of their players in, and they haven't really hit on picks since then. So we'll see what happens. Bringing in Olave, with this being Jameis Winston's team full time, but not having a true threat to me on the perimeter. We'll see what Michael Thomas does. Didn't play a whole season the previous season. A lot of people thought he was a scheme-based receiver. So with the the head honcho of the scheme gone, is he still going to be the same player? They traded Chauncey Gardner, who called him a slant boy. Who called him a slot boy, and he was just someone who was a good agitator for the team. He was someone who brought a lot of energy and intensity to the team. So losing him, I don't think that's nothing to sneeze at. So, there's just a lot of questions with this team. So I'm quite I honestly confused that they would put them as the number 2 team in the division. I think honestly, it's obviously the Panthers if they get their offensive line situation figured out. Now, Matt Rule, he seems like a bit of an oaf. He seems like a bit of a bumbling fool. He just says just ridiculous stuff. The star left tackle from the Chargers, Rashawn Slater, rookie, last year. They were asked why he didn't draft him, and he said his arms were too short. This is not something that you say out loud. You know, I want to run the ball 30 times a game. Just like he just says stuff like it just doesn't make sense to me. But Baker's hungry. I think they have fixed their offensive line woes. Their receiving options on the perimeter, I think DJ Moore is good. I don't think he's great. They brought in Chenault to couple with the guys that they have. I mean, it all really lies on Christian McCaffrey. If he's healthy throughout the year, then they could have a big year. Ron Rivera, I think you might remember if you paid attention to football at the time, he had this thing where he was not taking him off the field, where he was playing 100% of the snaps. There was a season where he played 97% of the snaps. So it's not, wildly confusing on why the guy is kind of getting hurt now. You played him too much before. But that goes into Ron Rivera and his incompetence on his end as well. So I don't know. We'll see what goes on with that. But Carolina, they're a sneaky team. They had a really good defense. I don't think that they were really good stopping the run, but they're really good at getting after the pass for last year. We'll see if they shore up their run woes. But, this is a team with a lot of the ingredients that, hey, maybe if they can't get hot, they can make a playoff run. And if Tom Brady gets hurt, if the offensive line is bad, they would definitely be my pick to win the division. The Falcons is another interesting team. They, I think, finished the season 9-8. I think they bringing in Mariota, Drake London. They're trying to bring some offensive punch to a team. Couple that with Cordell Patterson and Kyle Pitts in the second year. So this is Mariota's second chance. You've seen some players really, step up when they're in that second fresh opportunity before, like a Drew Brees, really blossom in his second stop. So is it one of those situations? This guy was a consensus top 5 pick at quarterback, so the tools are there. They have another interesting quarterback in Desmond Ridder, someone who was a first-round pick on a lot of draft boards going in to the season, had a really bad game versus Alabama in the college football playoffs, and I think that dropped his stock. So I wouldn't be surprised if this team comes on the come up. The question for this team is the pass rush. This was a team that was really devoted pass rush the season before. They didn't really do anything to address it coming into this season. I think they signed a couple of let me look up their roster. I think they signed a couple of 1-year contract guys, but they haven't really done anything to really shore up that situation. But this is a really solid team. They have one of the best coordinators in the league in AJ Terrell. They didn't really do anything to really make you say, okay, they've really solved this pass rush situation. They rented a 3-4. So these outside linebackers, I've never heard of them before. I think Lorenzo Carter has done a bit of pass rush in his day. Let's look at it. 5 sacks last year. So they didn't really do anything to upgrade that area, but maybe they play a more aggressive scheme and bring pressure home that way. But this isn't a team that I would completely rule out. This team has a lot of offensive firepower and have a lot of young players at various positions who could end up paying dividends for them. So it's a team to definitely watch. So that's my breakdown of the NFC South. Football season's upon us. We're less than a week away. So let me know what you think. Leave a comment, subscribe. The game is the game. All right. Thank you for watching this clip. Do me a favor. Push the button. Hit subscribe. Come on, man. Push it.
Push the goddamn button. Push the goddamn button. You heard what she said.
And do what's right. You heard her. Push the button. The game is a game.
So what's up, man? What's up with you otherwise, you know? The game is a game. Always.